Welcome to Eyes on Israel, powered by Israel 365. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our breaking coverage and analysis of the top stories related to Israel and the Middle East. This past Thursday night, the Israeli soccer team Maccabi Tel Aviv played in Amsterdam against Ajax, a local Dutch club. After the game, crowds of Muslim Arabs were waiting for the Israeli fans and brutally attacked them. At least a dozen Israelis were injured. A number were hospitalized. The attackers shouted anti-Israel slogans and were open about hunting Jews in the streets. One victim was thrown into one of Amsterdam's canals. Others were attacked with knives and run down by vehicles. According to the Dutch newspaper De Telegraaf, and eyewitness accounts reported in Israeli media, a number of taxi and Uber drivers were involved in the attacks, picking up fleeing Israelis, and instead of bringing them to their hotels in safety, they drove them to the street corners where attackers awaited them. Victims reported that there was barely any police presence throughout the hours of the attacks, and that the police merely tried to disperse the violent mobs, only to have them come back, rather than protect the victims and arrest the perpetrators. In fact, almost all of the 62 attackers who were apprehended were released soon after without being formally charged. All this despite the high alert warning delivered by Israel's Ministry of Diaspora Affairs to Dutch security services regarding a planned violent pro-Palestinian protest for that night. Pro-Hamas Telegram channels monitored by the Israelis showed extensive planning of these attacks. Many are invoking connections and similarities to the rise of anti-Semitism in Europe leading up to the Holocaust in the 1930s. In fact, the day after this attack, November 8th, marked the 86th anniversary of Kristallnacht, the large-scale pogrom that launched the Holocaust in Germany. But this connection, while easy to make due to the timing, misses the point of what we are seeing. This anti-Jewish violence is not a return to the 1930s. We are not witnessing a trend of native Europeans fueled by centuries of misguided Christian anti-Jewish theology and sentiment targeting Jews. In fact, it's the Christian and nationalist European right that currently makes up the pro-Jewish and pro-Israel camp in European politics and culture. Rather than a return of European anti-Semitism, what we are witnessing is the conquering of Europe by jihadist Muslims, religiously devoted to hatred of Jews, of Israel, and of the Christian West. From the disruption of the Christmas tree lighting at Rockefeller Plaza last November by mobs chanting pro-Hamas slogans, to the burning of the American flag in Washington, D.C. to protest Prime Minister Netanyahu in July, what we are witnessing is Islamic hatred of Judeo-Christian Western civilization, not a return to the 1930s. Make no mistake, this is not about the Jews. To quote Geert Wilders, leader of the Dutch PVV party, the largest party in the current government, quote, "The war against Israel is not a war against Israel. It is a war against the West. It is jihad. Israel is simply receiving the blows that are meant for all of us. If there would have been no Israel, Islamist imperialism would have found other ways to release its energy and its desire for conquest." Another difference between today and the 1930s is that today there is a strong, independent Jewish state that can and will defeat its enemies, and will come to the aid of Jews worldwide, as it did here, sending emergency flights to Amsterdam to evacuate Israelis barricaded in their hotel rooms. Israel will survive. Europe, I'm not so sure.